All right, hello and welcome to the first ever episode of The Good, the Bad and the Mike. We're your hosts. I'm Oisin. That's Cian.
How are you?
And that's Mike.
Womp.
There it is. All right, so we're recording the first ever episode just after Italy have beaten Austria 2-1 after extra time in the Euro 2020 round of 16. What did you think of the match?
I honestly thought it was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
I thought Italy should have steamrolled Austria going from just the group games.
They definitely didn't look as good as they did in the groups. They looked very good in extra time when they were scored those two goals. And they created chances, they just didn't finish them.
Yeah, like you can have good 0-0 games.
Yeah.
This wasn't a first 90 minutes of a good 0-0 game.
Yeah, they were sloppy at times in the second half, giving the ball away very easily.
I thought it was a lack of with Insigne. I thought he was doing the wrong thing at the wrong time every time he got the ball in the final third. He was either didn't have the confidence to take it on himself, or he'd always try to pass it off, and it was a interception there or a block there when he had it.
Yeah, I thought Austria did well to fight back, especially after going 2-0 down. They got a bit lucky with the goal, but
that was a poor goal.
You need a bit of luck sometimes. It's the first goal conceded in just over 18 hours for Italy.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Italy, like, you can still say that they're kind of, they haven't conceded in 90 minutes in, what was it, like 10 games or something like that there. Like, this goal, it wasn't, like, after 100 minutes of football, people get tired,
Yeah.
So, I mean,
excuse them.
I get you.
Yeah.
But overall, I think they have a decent run to the final. I believe. I think they're on the easier side, if I remember
Italy?
correctly.
No, they play
now.
Portugal or Belgium next round.
Oh, am I completely wrong on which side they're on?
Yes.
I thought they were on the same
Yes.
side as England. And
No, Netherlands is the same side as England.
Yes, okay.
Italy's in the horrible side.
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
Yes, because if they might have to play France in the semi-final. Yes. No, it's
Yes.
come back to me now. Thank you, Mike. But
No
I think
problem.
if they can play as well as they did in the first two games in the groups, and they were apparently fantastic in qualifying. I didn't watch much of them. But if they can play like they did in the first two group games, I think they could easily make it to the final, and I think they could win the whole thing, to be honest.
I think this game was a wake-up call for them again. They took their foot off the pedal there with the Wales game when they had qualification off already. They were taking the piss, putting on all their players, getting them an appearance.
Yeah, that's fair. But what matters is
it'd be interesting now to see the next game now after Mancini's had a chance now to they gotten a bad performance out and see where they go from now. If they can get it together for the next game, it'll be solid.
Yeah.
They could be all right.
Yeah. And then I was only half watching the Wales Denmark game earlier. I don't know if you guys caught any of it.
No, same. I had half an eye on it. Yeah.
From what I did see, Denmark definitely looked like a much better team.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe would have expected going into it. Slightly disappointed with how Wales did. But
yeah, I thought Wales obviously have some very good players, and I thought that they might be able to get them back into it, but Denmark were just very clinical and just went on from there.
I would be interested to see with the Wales team, and I'll see in the Euros as a whole, because I know Wales, for instance, had some horrible travelling to do throughout this tournament. So I wonder if we looked at other teams that have the travelling, how well they did later on.
That is a big factor, an interesting factor.
2 games in Baku, 1 in England.
I believe so.
I can't remember their third game was.
I believe
the
Denmark actually had the second lowest amount, second lowest distance travelled.
Yeah.
With only England being less because they played all their games in Wembley.
Yeah.
So that definitely would have had an impact. They would have been a lot more tired.
It'll be interesting to see after the Euros, and we can have a look at that.
Yeah, that's very fair. Right, so let's just get straight into news then, I suppose. I had one piece that I wanted to talk about was a bit of Aaron Rodgers news that I saw yesterday on NBC Sports website, that apparently if he decides to, by this Friday, the 2nd of July, not to play in 2021, then he can avoid the $20 million in fines that he'd get if he just didn't show up. So, do you think that that's a possibility, that he will just decide this week, all right, I'm not gonna play this year to save himself money?
He definitely could. Obviously, for anyone maybe less aware, this is one of the top quality NFL quarterbacks. Like, obviously, the Packers are poised very well. That if he wants a shot at a ring, then like this season, honestly, like with the way he played last year, fines aside, like he has to play this year just for how good he was last year. If he hits anywhere near that, like they're close to one of the top teams, in the conference and in the NFL as a whole. So I think it'd be silly of him to sit out a year.
I think he plays I know he's big into his legacies and whatnot, and I don't think he wants to be known as the only MVP to sit out the next season as reigning MVP. You can't have that.
That is fair, but do you think then that there's a possibility that he threatens to sit out, the Packers then decide, okay, well, we have to trade him or we have to cut him?
Yeah.
Or do they just try and call his bluff, essentially?
I think they call that as bluff. It's actually very funny when you look at it, how similar this situation is to the Brett Favre and him nearly 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's a lot of similarities there. Like, if he does get traded, he'll obviously have to go to another top contender, which is very hard to see who exactly is Aaron Rodgers away from winning. Now, if they do want to trade him, they might get him at a decent discount, but no teams are coming to mind that can maybe give up enough, because even though he is very old, he is still high trade value, I'd imagine. So
there's still a lot of Broncos talk, but I don't know.
The Broncos are an interesting team. When you look on paper, and take the quarterback aside, there are a lot of good players on that Broncos team on the offense. And everyone's putting the question marks, is it because Drew Lock is just not able to dish it out? Is he not ready for it yet? And is Rodgers the missing thing?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see where this goes. I think he'll stay as a Packer. I think he plays.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he didn't. But he might try to force something, but I have no idea what kind of money he's on. But to someone like him, those fines don't seem like it is a lot. But
yeah, if he were to re-sign or sign a new deal with the Packers, he'd make that back. So quickly. But I think it's definitely a story worth keeping an eye on, especially this week with that
the deadline.
Second deadline.
Yeah, no, true.
And then whether he does or not, if he doesn't opt out of this year, say, whether he does show up to their training camp when that starts back up or not. Mike, I believe you had some Tour de France news you wanted to talk about?
Yes, I do. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there was a massive collision. I hear one of the biggest in the Tour de France history today, and it was caused because some fan stuck a sign out because she saw the camera of the motor car go by, so she stuck her sign out to try and get on the TV, and one of the cyclists hit off the sign, crashed, and of course caused the massive collision. She has fled the scene, and apparently the sponsors are currently looking for her and her whereabouts so they can sue.
That's absolutely
for damages.
That's like this. This is one thing that I've always had with the Tour de France. It's the only sport that has so far gotten away with they don't use really ever barricades. There's just long stretches of open roads with fans lining the streets, and it's insane they've gone this far without massive issues like that. That's just it's bonkers.
But if you look at it there, I've seen it. If you go online, you can check it yourselves. You can see the moment that hits, and she is right there, smiling on camera with the big fat sign out as the cyclist hits this thing, and it's like, oh my god! I just want to know what's going through her mind as soon as the first guy trips over, and then they're all saying, "What point do you go? Oh shit!"
Yeah, at what point did she decide to leg it?
Very
I'm
fast.
not dealing with this.
Unfortunately, the only thing going for her is she has sunglasses on, so you can't really get a good look at her face, but she is staring right at the camera.
That's
It's
it's
incredible.
That's just.
So I'll keep you posted on if she gets caught.
I wonder if that'll be the catalyst for change now with introducing barriers along the whole.
Like,
but it's such a long race.
So long, and there's so many of them. It seems like a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
Because of how fast they change.
Already.
Yeah, like to be fair, like most people who go and watch a Tour de France are avid cycling fans and know not to be an idiot, essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't see it changing too much. Maybe it does, but it seems like it's going to cause
I
so many issues for them.
She just thought she saw her moment on the TV and completely forgot there was a race going on.
Like you got to respect that. If you see your shot, you got to shoot. You've got to take it.
It's worth.
Yeah.
Like she's got her 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like
More
she is
than
now the most infamous person in cycling for the rest of her life.
Absolutely incredible scenes. Keane, I believe you had some rugby news you also wanted to share.
Yeah, just seen there a while ago that Alan Wynne-Jones, due to injury, has had to pull out of the Lions tour, I believe. So Ireland's very own Conor Murray now has been handed, I suppose not captain armband in rugby, it's just he is now the captain of the tour. Just wanted to bring a point to that because obviously Conor Murray, fabulous player. I'd say even though he is very highly rated, I've always thought of him as being a bit underrated. I think he's better than people give it credit for, even though he's seen very highly. And it's just nice to see him get that recognition in there now. So I just wanted to bring point to that there.
I did see. I assume that was during the warm-up game against Japan.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. So shame now for Alan Wynne-Jones, another phenomenal player. You love him.
How long has he been going?
Oh, he must be in his mid-30s, like early to mid-30s. He's been on that Welsh second row for as long as I can remember.
Great player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic player. But Conor Murray, he's one of those. I like him, but at the same time, we got his place. He was a small man, but then he had that late growth spurt. So there's always that resentment I have for that man. He has that low center of gravity that all small people have. But now that he's had decent size, he still has it, and he uses it for advantage. But he forgets where he comes from sometimes.
He is actually like he's like 6'1", 6'2" now, isn't he? He's actually very tall.
He gives hope to us, and it's a hope we know we don't have.
Yeah, us in our late 20s still thinking we're growing,
It's the hope that kills you, to be fair.
It is.
It is the hope that kills.
Kills.
I was at the doctor the other day, a while ago, and the distraught I had, I always thought to myself, I was 5'4". It's small, but it was a respectable small. I've always had that opinion of myself when people ask, oh, what height are you? Because I don't really measure myself, because I know I'm small, and I know I'm going to be disappointed. Doctor's doing his checkup thing, he goes, well, just check your height there. I was 5'2", and I was so distraught.
No, that's
so
distraught.
That is a big difference.
That is a huge difference. I was like, oh my god, I'm 5'2", I'm a midget. Oh, it was so depressing.
That's why I always stand near Mike in photos, because the 5. I mean, I think I'm 5'4.5", and obviously because it's 4.5, you round up to 5'5" because you round up in that situation. So that's has to be done.
That's the dream job for me though, celebrity height manipulator. Get the medium range celebrities to sit beside me or stand beside me to get them look taller.
Yeah.
One of these days, Mike. One of these days.
Insignia, call me up.
And then the last bit of news that I wanted to talk about today was I saw Sky Sports this morning were reporting that there's been some movement on the Rafa Benitez to Everton talk, and that he should be signing a deal in the coming days, and it should be confirmed and announced publicly on Tuesday, apparently. Which is
they're going to surprise release it on Tuesday.
Could surprise release it on Tuesday. Big surprise drop on Tuesday. Big news for Everton though, because he's a fantastic manager, and to go straight from Carlo Ancelotti to Rafa Benitez it's a good sign.
Huge step.
Just a note on this, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know me, I used to be a mad football fan. The last, we'll say, 8 to 9 years, not so much. Everton's most recent season now. How were they? How were they last season? What kind of stuff? What should they be looking for now?
I believe they finished 8th, which is kind of funny given that they had Carlo Ancelotti managing them.
Fair. Like the Premier League last season did seem to be very. If you take City out of it, it did seem to be kind of anywhere from 2 to 8 or 9 seemed very.
Yeah, it was a bit
tight just from listening to you talk about it.
I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I didn't really watch a lot of Everton games, but from what I saw, they are a good team. They just fizzled out. Is the best way to describe. They had the incredible early start to the season where everyone was saying this could be their year. But they were top of the table. All this is it. James Rodriguez was bagging in the goals.
And now there's talk of him looking to leave now, actually, after Ancelotti leaving.
Fair. I mean, I'd say they get a decent price tag for him.
He'd be a big loss, though.
Oh, massive, yeah. But, like, honestly, I want this to happen so much just because of the storylines from Liverpool to Everton.
It would be
ancient history,
what happens.
Yeah.
So, like, whenever I watch the Liverpool games now on the TV, there is that banner of him is still up there. You see it all the time. Does that get taken down if he's the Everton manager?
No, I don't think
so. Yeah, you can't have that kind of, particularly because it was so long ago. Maybe if it was more like recent, kind of like the first thing that pops in my head, it was like the Tevez thing, where he literally went from United to City.
Yeah.
Where that was more of a personal thing.
Like, I mean,
it's been so long now. He's been at Chelsea, he's been at
Newcastle,
he's been in China. Yeah. I think he was in Spain. He was in Spain for a while.
I 100% agree with you on this one. I have no problem with him being the Everton manager. The way I see it is, we broke up with him and we're now with a sexy German. I have no complaints if he decides to get with
fair. That's fair. You won the breakup. It's okay. You don't have to worry about what your ex is doing.
We won the breakup. In my eyes.
And
that's a very fair point.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see how he does there. I don't think, from what I hear, the fans are just not happy about it at all.
No,
I think like as soon as they hit any run of bad form, he's just going to be destroyed. The media and the fans are going to hate him even more.
I did like, though, the fans' reception we had in Goodison. You were telling me, I think it was, that there were the two sides outside Everton. One was very nice and just, Rafa, we don't want you at our club.
Yeah, you're not.
Which is a nice, polite one. And then the side of him is the, fuck off, Rafa, you fat cop-tight. Cop-ite.
Yeah. Just so different.
There are many different ways to write the same message here.
I know.
There's one right way, and then there's the nice way to do it. You know.
Yes. I mean, they got the message across.
It did. It did.
Oh, definitely.
It will be a strange one. Like, it'll be one where I'm happy for him, but I won't be rooting for him to do well.
Oh yeah, no, fair. Like, it is definitely, like, from an Everton fan's point of view, just like. Because even though it was such a long time ago, so it was a big part of Liverpool's history, but I didn't think there'd be this kind of reaction to something like that. I can understand, like, a small part of the fan base, because that's going to happen everywhere, but it does seem to be a decent chunk of the fan base, at least, if not more so, don't seem to be happy with it.
Now, it could very well be the vocal minority, just being very vocal, but it does seem like a huge chunk of the fan base, like you said.
True. Like, the ones who are happy with it aren't going to be as vocal, I suppose. So
another advantage with Everton and Rafa going there is, well, like, actually, like, there's not that worry that he'll be dragged to another bigger job will come calling for him. I think Rafa's had his chance, unless he does really well. The likes of Madrid, Barca, they won't go, we'll give Rafa a chance now.
Yeah.
Like, Ancelotti's such a well-known name that I was shocked he went to Everton in the first place.
True.
No, I definitely was as well, to be fair. It seemed insane when they first announced Ancelotti that they were actually getting Ancelotti. But, you know, it'll be interesting now to see how Benitez does. And also, like, with the reports that James Rodriguez looking to leave, I wonder if Ancelotti is going to bring anyone like Richarlison with him to Real. You know, it'll be interesting to see if they lose a couple of players now that they've lost such a big manager, or if they manage to hold on to them and see what happens next season. But yeah.
I'm really hoping they re-sign. Rafa tries and sign Solomon Rondon so we can have the new. Right, the Premier League's been missing a Redknapp Cronshaw link for a while now. I hope it's Rafa and Rondon.
Getting the band back together.
That's it. It's Rafa. Iosi Perez.
Right, so that's all the news we had to cover. So our first proper segment, well, our first kind of smaller segment, we'll move on to our main segment later. But our first proper segment of this show was underrated or overhyped players from the Euros so far. So players who had a bit of hype or coming into the tournament and just completely failed to live up to expectations. So I know, Mike, you have one that you're very passionate about.
So much. I was sold by this guy. Yilmaz for Turkey. I had him, to say I put on Bet's top goal scorer. I had him in the fantasy. Almost capped him in for fantasy. Turkey to win it. I was all in on this guy. Was he top goal scorer for Lille? And that won the French league, I believe.
Top goal scorer in Ligue 1 completely.
Yeah, this guy, everyone was saying, this is the biggest dark horse. 8 million, absolute bargain for this player. He's going to do. And Turkey were just so poor. Honestly, I would say they're the poorest team in the Euros, Turkey.
Yeah,
they didn't look like anything.
They did look shocking from what I've seen, because a lot of people were saying, dark horse get out of the group, dark horse to make a deep run was Turkey. Everyone was saying that, and they just.
It was so poor. I remember the first game. I said to myself, okay, it was 3-0 Italy. Italy are a good team. Wales, this is where we see, and they were just so poor against Wales as well.
They
just
put
didn't look like
together
anything.
going forward.
Nah.
There was times during that Italy game where even at 1 or 2-0 down, it looked like they had 10 or 11 players in their own box, and you were just there thinking that's not how you're going to come back from a 2-goal or 1-goal deficit,
Yeah.
So they were just incredibly disappointing.
I thought, Turkey as a whole, I would put as an overhyped. Yilmaz especially is an overhyped player, 100%. But Turkey as a whole were very disappointing.
Just that entire team.
Yes.
Fair,
what about you, Washid? Any under or overs?
I'd have to say the one that really stood out to me was Bruno Fernandez so far. After a fantastic season for United, I think he was one of the most hyped Portuguese players coming into the tournament, and he was just non-existent. He started the first 2 games, and he was just completely non-existent. They may as well have been playing with 10 men, which I believe something Jose Mourinho said himself as a pundit. But he didn't influence the game at all. He just didn't even really take part in the games. I thought he was absolutely shocking. Even when he came on in the 3rd game, I don't think he did anything of note. No. For a player who's had such an incredible season, and I wonder if it's he was tired after his season at United, but even then, other players have had long seasons as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can use that as an excuse.
I think it is with Bruno. I think it's a case of him. If he's not the main man, he'll just go through the motions. And in that Portugal team, it's Ronaldo first. Yeah. It's him. And I think Bruno's a case of if he calls for the ball or Ronaldo calls for the ball, it's going to Ronaldo.
And very fair.
He's not on penalties. I don't think he on free kicks either. He doesn't have to say he does as United. United, he can say whatever he wants, do what he wants. And that's him. It's Bruno's show. And for Portugal, he's just second fiddle, and I think that kind of affects his mentality. He's not. There are some players that do well with that, and some that don't. And I think Bruno falls into I'm not the main man. You won't get the best of me. But I would say he has been for this Euros.
It'll be interesting to see if he can turn things around and play a larger role now. The knockout rounds.
That's the point I was going to bring up. There's a lot of big name strikers in particularly, like Mbappe and Kane, who have had a couple of very pedestrian games, but of course they could still have up to 4 games left to redeem themselves and actually make a good run here.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 games is such a small sample size, but it's everything in the Euros,
Yeah.
Which is just it's insane when you think about it compared to like a proper league season. The sample size is small, but if you have one good game, it can just set yourself up to have a good tournament,
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up Kane because I think he's also another one who's drastically underperformed. But
No,
actually, I think that entire England team is underperformed.
Yeah, I think that they definitely have to go into the overhyped list if we're honest here. You have to give them credit where credit's due, where they haven't conceded yet, and they play against 3 teams who are well capable of scoring goals.
Yeah.
And they kept them out, but they didn't look great when doing it.
They didn't look convincing, I don't think, in any of their games.
No.
I think part of the problem, though, is their lead up to the tournament was one of the stranger ones, where they were playing their players who they said weren't going to the tournament. They were playing games and getting the minutes. I remember a good one was Ward-Prowse was playing one of the games, and he was taking all the free kicks in the corners, and the pundits and I was saying, "Oh, he has such a good delivery." But the point is, he's not taking a free kick or corner at the Euros. Give it to someone that is taking it. Get the practice in.
I suppose there's a fine line between that and risking your
there is like
that is I understand
that,
but
line on that.
There were other teams were playing their players; they were getting their minutes in. Because you got to gel as a team, and England has a problem with having their players gel as a unit.
That has been an English problem for 20 years or so. They never seem to get groups of players. They always have groups of fabulous players who just couldn't play together a lot of the time.
But interesting if they're another one though that I wonder if they can get through like this round of 16 game against Germany. I think they have an easy enough run. Like the Netherlands are the only other team.
Yeah,
but I think they'll struggle against Germany. I think Germany.
Oh yeah, I think Germany have to go into the underrated pile. Nobody was talking about Germany, and then they had a solid group showing, and I think they've gone up in a lot of people's books. I think that they pre-tournament, you probably would have taken England over Germany. A lot of people would have. But now, I don't
think Germany it was that you'd say Germany were underrated. I think people were saying, "Look, Germany are good, but we think France and the likes of Portugal, Belgium are just better than Germany." But if Germany win, they wouldn't be.
The fact that they were in with France and Portugal.
Yeah, like if Germany was in any other group, everyone would say they'd win the group.
That's fair. I mean, they were looking for some stages of that game, their last group game of being eliminated. I think.
Against Hungary.
But that's Hungary as a whole you put as the most underrated.
Definitely.
Like
they definitely outperformed expectations. 100%.
Yeah, like they were given nothing going into that group of death, and they nearly took something from it, which would have been unbelievable if they could have.
Yeah. But another player, actually, I thought I'd mention, who I was shocked on how young he actually was, and Renato Sanchez has been very impressive for Portugal, I found. And I'll be very interested to see where he goes this summer.
Yes, he was recalled from his loan. He's back at Bayern Munich, and I wonder if he stays there, or if he just... I feel like... I remember a few years ago, there was a lot of hype around him.
Yeah.
And he's never really lived up to it properly. He has looked good in the Euros, though, I thought, in the games he's played in. So I'd be interested to see if maybe Bayern decide to keep him next season, or if they decide to sell him on. And so who's in for him? But again, he's got possibly up to 4 games that he has to continue impressing in.
That's true. Be interested to see if he gets the start, as we said, or does he continue to stick with Bruno?
Yeah, I think the most likely option is that he starts Bruno for the round of 16 game at
probably.
Least, in the hope that he improves with more game time, but I don't know. I don't see it, to be honest. He's just, like I said, he's been non-existent.
Yeah, like he definitely could get cut very fast.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Does anyone have any other players they wanted to discuss before we move on to our main segment of today's show?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good. Like, I have a few players I probably mentioned in the next segment.
Yeah.
I will probably
no spoilers.
Then. Yeah, no spoilers.
Very fair. So our main segment for this week's show is our individual team of the group stages. So the three of us have put together a team of the group stages, and we're going to discuss the players that we've included and possibly some that should have been included but weren't. So we're going to start off with Cian, your group 11. So your goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Cian, before you start, Cian, I just want to say I saw your team earlier this morning, and there's just been one player on it that I just can't stop, and I've been looking forward to all day for your answer on this.
Yeah, we just skip right through. Nothing else matters. Just
We'll get
to that. All right.
You have to wait.
Yeah. So, so goalkeeper, right? You got some very, very interesting choices that you think about right away. Obviously, you've got England and Italy. Neither of them conceded a goal. That should be your standard goalkeepers. The issue that I had with Donnarumma and Pickford is I think both made a total of 2 saves in the group stages. Now, Danny Ward, the Welsh goalkeeper, even though he let in 2 goals, I believe he made 14 saves over the 3 games.
I have here.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the total save numbers for all the goalkeepers. There were some with higher, but most of the ones who were higher had a vast majority more goals against them. I just thought that his ratio was the best.
Yeah, he was tied for the second highest amount of saves made.
Was he?
In the group stages.
I think the Turkey goalkeeper may have made more just by sheer number of shots, but then let in obviously a lot more goals.
Yeah.
So that's why I felt Danny Ward was a standard performer for me in goals. So
your defenders?
Yeah, moving on to the defenders. So there's an issue I have when ranking defenders, and that you can't really use stats. You can use stats a lot more to an extent, midfielders and forwards.
Yeah.
But defenders, it's so hard. So I wanted to represent England and Italy because of neither of them conceded a goal. I think that has to be a consideration, which is why I went for Stones and Bonucci. But we're the only centre-backs to start all 3 games, I believe, for Italy and for England, respectively. And I felt like that was a strong reason to include them. Like, you can look at total tackle numbers, but then that's a bit not a great metric. It's a fine metric, but I don't think it tells the whole picture, which is why I like Stones and Bonucci. And then I think by accident, I looked at all kind of fullbacks and accidentally picked 2 Austrians. I just liked, I believe, Lehner before at the end of the groups was one of the best, had a very, very high tackle percentage. Like he was one of the top tacklers, both in attempted tackles and actual made clean tackles.
Yeah,
which is why he got in there.
Tackles in the group stages out of any.
Yeah, so I felt like I could reward that, and then obviously when you're putting together an 11, David Alaba had good tackle numbers. I think he's one of the highest assist leaders. I think he has 2 assists from the groups, which is phenomenal for a defender. Get him out on one of the sides and just have him up and down all day. I think he has been quite good, and that's why I included him in there as one of the fullbacks. I feel like
I believe
even though
Alaba played the first game. I think he played kind of more of a midfield role, and he wasn't great, but he has looked good the Austria's second and third game, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. He was good. So then I chose to play a 3-man midfield. I went through so many different options between midfield and forward. So in my 3-man midfield here, Toni Cruz, one of the veteran players in this Germany team, he had an insanely high. I think he had the most number of passes and passes completed. I think he had over a 92% success rate in his passes. Yeah. And then when combined with a massively high tackle rate for particularly a midfielder, I feel like if I was picking my best 11, I'd probably play him in there. Even though he He's well capable of getting forward. He would probably play as a holding midfielder and let the other two, Gigi Wijnaldum and Pierre Højbjerg. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. Danish is not a natural language of mine. Like, you look at the other two, I believe Højbjerg had 3 assists and Wijnaldum had 3 goals, so obviously insane production from your midfield. So we let them go off and just have Tony there just to keep the ship settled. Like, that would be... I just feel like the 3 of them played out of their skins so far. And using some of the stats here just to find who really came out, you know?
Yeah, very solid choices.
Now, on
the one Mike's been waiting for.
Yeah, Mike's been very quiet.
I can't wait for this.
Right. So obviously, you look at these 3 forwards. Okay.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. So let's have a little thought experiment here. What constitutes a good player? A player good enough for a best 11, if you would. Goran Pandev played for the worst team by far. He had, played against good opposition, playing on one of the worst teams, playing with very little help compared to what all the other players on this best 11 had. And my thought process was for him to actually score a goal with very little help against very solid teams. I think that that's worthy of a best 11. I think that shows him playing very well.
I'm not 100% sure here, Keem, but I'm pretty sure his goal was a shit back pass that let him have an open goal. And he tapped it in.
Potentially. But he still did it. And I think North Macedonia deserve a shout out. And I believe he is part of my best 11. I mean,
that's very fair.
That's fair.
I'm proud of your reasoning. I think, yeah, fair play. My question is,
yes.
North Macedonia scored 2 goals. Did he only score one of them?
He scored one of them. No idea who scored the other. But he scored 50% of all of North Macedonia's goals in Euros.
So was it a toss-up between him and the other goal scorer?
No, it was more of him being the North Macedonian talisman. He is essentially North Macedonian embodied.
Yeah,
I felt like that
Mr.
gave him the
North
edge.
Macedonian.
Exactly.
That's very fair.
So that was where that came in. Obviously, the other 2 speak for themselves. I think
he's
3 goals each is
He's a real
phenomenal.
player. Any fan can get into at the start with the "Go on, Pandev." Great introduction.
Yeah, that always helps when they.
That's
so
very fair. I thought, just on Poland, I thought they were unlucky not to qualify at the end with their game against Sweden. They got so close and then just weren't able to.
It was a heartbreaker. Yeah.
But
Lewandowski
makes it into your team anyway.
He did. I mean, he had 3 goals. I think no penalties. I kind of try to get players not discount the penalties, but the penalties are easy, obviously, while being nerve-wracking, an easy form of a goal, which is why I think Lukaku and Lewandowski both had 3 goals with 0 penalties, which is a phenomenal record. I felt like they had to.
Fair.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But it's a good team, Keane. Especially for someone that's not really been into football for 9 years. I'm actually quite impressed.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out how many of these people
I'm kind
I know.
of impressed with your knowledge.
Right, so we'll
That's fair.
Mike, your team's up next.
Yeah.
So your goalkeeper?
So I was thinking about it, and like Keane said, the obvious answer probably would have been Donnarumma, Pickford, but I was thinking, watch yourself. They weren't really tested. They did much. Keane went full Moneyball and giving me stats. I have not got stats on these players. I'm going purely from what I saw.
That's all I have. I look at numbers all day. That's what I do, okay?
But I thought Sweden, and I went with Robin Olsen from Sweden, because from the 2 games I saw, they were solid. They didn't look like they were going to concede a goal. He didn't look like, and I know we say Spain couldn't score a goal. This is pre-Slovakia anyway, 4-5 the rate, that they didn't look like scoring at all. But Sweden, he also made a lot of saves in that Spain game, I believe. I think he had 10 shots. I'm just looking up stats here to kind of compare. So it looked like I did some homework.
The group stages.
Yes. So I think Sweden are known as a defensive kind of team. They won't score many, but they won't concede many either. They'll be doing well to get more than 2 against Sweden.
Very fair.
Yeah.
And so
moving on. So at right back, I have Denzel Dumfries. And the games I saw, I actually did not know this guy was a defender. I thought he was a white wing until when I was looking at the fantasy Euros, he was down as a defender. And I was like, that guy is impressive to be a defender and be so entwined in the attack for Holland. I thought alone gets him in. Got a goal. Any defender that gets a goal is usually, I say, is a great defender.
He's good in your book.
Yeah,
good in my book.
You don't need to stop the goals if you're scoring them, you know.
I mean, he has done his defensive duties as well. Like, when the time has come, he's there doing his defensive duties. So, I think that's really sad. He reminds me of Trent. And as a biased Liverpool fan, that's always a good thing.
That's very
fair. Centre-half partnerships, I went Bonucci. Look, Italy haven't conceded a goal in 90 minutes in, as you said, 18 hours. He's a good reason why.
Yeah.
Solid at the back. You can have no complaints, no nonsense. I went for an interesting one with Simon Kjær as well. Like, I can obviously go on for 20 minutes on his leadership skills he done week 1 in that game against Finland and everything he done. But that, if you look at that Denmark team after that game, they were in a bad way. You could say they went out. There'd be no complaints that they went out. They'd be like, yeah, their heads weren't in it. But he has rallied that Denmark team, and you could see even today 4-0. They look really impressive.
Yeah.
And could be a dark horse. And I think Simon Kjær is one of the reasons why. So I have him down leadership, and I put him in this squad as captain. He's the captain of this team, this best 11.
Oh, I wish you told me that beforehand. Oh, that's I guess my team is captainless.
That's it. No, Pandev's your captain.
Pandev, yeah. I'd give it to Pandev.
Mr. North Macedonia.
100% gets the armband all day on any team I'm managing.
Spinazzola, same reason as Dumfries. Solid attacking option and great support. And defensively, pretty solid. He's been a surprise. I actually never heard of him coming into these Euros. And he's actually been a shock for me. And been very impressed with him. I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
No.
As our Serie A expert.
No, I don't. I didn't recognize the name coming into this. He's a Roma player, I believe. Just looking it up now. But he's been fantastic in each of all of the games he's played in.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic.
I think so. Yeah, I can't argue with that, Oisin. I think he's been very good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he will get on to the Euros, team of the tournament. I'd have no arguments there if he gets in.
Very fair.
Moving on to the midfield, Gino Wijnaldum, Keane said himself. I think this is one of the most underrated players in international football. Anyway, he has 25 goals for Holland. That's more than Marco van Basten. Which is insane.
How old is Wijnaldum?
He
Any
is
ideas?
29 or 30, I believe.
That's actually older than I thought. I thought he was younger than that. Okay, that's fair. That's a decent record then.
30 years old.
It always baffled me how he could score so many goals international. And when he plays for Liverpool, he did get goals, but it wasn't as much. And I was like, that's the same guy, because he'd go on international break and he'd bag 1 or 2 goals. I'm like, why isn't he doing that for us? But when the time came, he did score in that 4-0 win against Barca twice.
I'd just like to cut in there very quickly, because he plays it's just a very different role for Liverpool than he does.
It is a different role.
So I don't think you can compare the two side by side and go.
It's an apples to apples comparison. Like, he can score for one team, he should be able to score for the other.
He's good enough.
Simple math.
Good enough.
He plays a much more defensive role in
maybe that's
Liverpool's team, in my opinion.
Maybe that's your sexy German's fault. He's not pushing him forward enough. You know.
You leave sexy German alone. Moving on. In the middle, I went for Manuel Locatelli, another surprise player for the Euros, I think. Never heard of him coming into it. I believe he wasn't even meant to start the Euros, was it, Yoshida? Was it not Verratti was supposed to be playing?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
You're not sure? I believe I could have sworn I heard somewhere that that's the case, but look, his performance against Switzerland alone puts him in this team for me. 2 goals, solid in the middle, passing the ball around. Very impressive to watch. I thought Italy in the groups probably the best team in the group stages, I think. Well, most consistent.
No, I don't think there's any probably about it. I think they were definitely the best team in the group stages.
Yeah. And then side by him, I have Aaron Ramsey from Wales. Mainly, I watched the Turkey game against Wales. Now, I don't know if it was Turkey report, but this guy was just the best player on the pitch by far. Took his goal well, passed the ball. He was both ends of the pitch, and he was doing his defensive. I think he even had at one stage a last-ditch block to stop Turkey from scoring. Just, honestly, he was one of the reasons why Wales excelled in the group and did well. And he was always a funny player when he was in the Premier League as well. He was getting goals, but he wasn't getting the credit he deserved. And then when he went to Juventus, everyone started taking off. But I think this guy is a player, and I've always been a fan. I don't know if you've seen any of him in the Wales games. Or what do you think?
He was the surprise inclusion when I looked at your 11, and I was intrigued by it. Obviously, Aaron Ramsey's big name in Welsh football. Yeah. He will be one of the ones you'd be looking to step up. Now, I hadn't really seen Wales play much, but I was interested to hear what you had to say about him now, and it sounds pretty alright.
Yeah. I thought that game against Turkey, honestly, it's a performance I do recommend you watch just for him. It was amazing. Moving up to my up front. Now, I know Oshie had an argument with me with one of the players on this based on position-wise.
It wasn't so much an argument, just an observation.
Comment.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I originally had, and I really wanted to put in, I had Isaac from Sweden originally in the team.
Right.
But when I was doing the stats, well, not stats, but I was looking at, I couldn't ignore that Emil Forsberg had gotten the 3 goals. I was like, I can't really not put this guy in the team if I'm going to put someone else from his own country. It was just as well as impressive, and I'll mention my honourable mentions, but this guy has been pretty good and has dragged his team through top of the group, which is a shock. I think most people would have said going into the Euros that Sweden
definitely
won the group. I think a lot of people were saying Spain. Yeah. And I think we could possibly see them. They at least make the semis, I'd say. You could say. I think they haven't.
I don't know what their
Czech Republic.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the
It's
group.
Czech Republic, England, Germany.
Okay.
Is their route. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, like honestly, I did consider Forsberg for my team, standout player, and yeah, like Sweden, a bit underrated maybe going into the tournament. Spain looked very poor and just let them have a chance at top in the group, and they're in with a shout now. It's anyone's game,
That's it. I would mention and give my spiel in the next one, but I feel I will not do him any justice, and I will probably get scored and just be given not doing wrong. Do it. So I'm just gonna leave him for someone else to mention because I feel he will. This guy, he's a good player. Is all I'm gonna say. I'll let Oshie continue on in his field because I can guarantee I haven't seen Oshie's team, but I can guarantee he's in Oshie's 11. Am I correct?
He is, yeah.
Are you surprised?
No, I was like, all right, I know who Oshie's gonna have in.
Yeah.
And then I have Depay. Look, Holland are one of 3 teams that won all 3 of their group games, and Depay is one of the reasons why. He's electric, and he brings a bit of unpredictability when he has the ball. You don't know what he's going to do. He's fast, he's silky. I think he was unfortunate his time at United. He was one of those players. He had everything there, but it just didn't work out for him. And once his confidence was shaky, it just never worked out. But I feel that he's a very good player. And is one of the stars of this Holland team.
Yeah, definitely one of the players of the group. He was another one that I had considered for my team. He was definitely up there with the best of it. Also, just pointing this out, best photo of that 11 has to be Depay. Everyone else just doesn't give a fuck. But he is there, and he knows it.
He's loving life.
Yeah, quality photo.
Ward has a good photo as well. He's kind of that smirk.
He does. He's ready for it.
Pandev's just happy to be there in his photo. The photo looks like Keane's just called him outside and said, I need you in the best 11s.
It also, for some reason, it's the gradiest photo. It looks like he's just taking it on a worse camera, which I feel is disrespect for the mighty Goran Pandev.
Look, the North Macedonian budget didn't include cameras. One of those flick, self-sprint ones. They couldn't afford the white background. Look, Pandev's okay that his background ain't as white as the others.
No, it's an off-white. And then for some reason, Højbjerg just went full-on navy background. just to stand out.
Key, I could not find the right photos for your team.
If any of you have a white background Højbjerg thing, get that graded and send it in to us.
I was trying to get worth a lot of money. That they have up on the UEFA.com website for the Euro 2020s. I just could not find Højbjerg anywhere. Same with Pandev.
That's very fair. Understandable.
Right. Shall we move on? I have not seen Oshin's team, and I look forward to seeing.
We'll move on to my team then. So in goal, I have, same as Keane, Danny Ward. I think, again, the stats speak for himself. He's conceded 2 goals, but he was made 14 saves. He was one of the busiest keepers in the group stages, and to only concede 2, I think, was fantastic from him. Keane said enough about him, though, so we'll move on to my defense. I've gone for three men in defense. Laner, again, Keane had him. They conceded 3 goals and kept 1 clean sheet, but he made the most tackles in the tournament throughout the group stages. Was dribbled past on average once per game, which seems pretty solid, and scored. So, contributed going forward. Laporte, I have in. He's an interesting one, given that he only essentially declared for Spain this year, kind of before the Euro started, and snubbed France. 1 goal conceded throughout the group stages for Spain. 2 clean sheets. He scored once. He had won 3 out of 4 tackles and a 98.3% pass accuracy. I think, the stats speak for themselves for Laporte. He looked fantastic when he was playing as well. And then the last defender I have is Thomas Munier, who, again, Belgium only conceded the once. He scored once, and he's got a 50% tackle completion percentage. 2 out of 4. It's not great. It's solid, and I think that's what he is. He's a solid defender who does well going forward as well. I think that's kind of his main upside, is his attacking output as a defender.
Yeah, he scored a goal, so he's good in my book.
That's always,
That's all.
Any defender that scores, he's a defender that scores. Get him up, get a shirt.
It's all that matters.
Just stick Ronaldo right back. Just like, some defender he is.
So
would have made my team. He was in my defense.
What a man. On to my midfield, and I have Emil Forsberg. Like Mike said, 3 goals. He played such a huge role in Sweden, topping that group. And he was just, I thought I couldn't leave him out, given that he had such a huge impact for his country in the group stages.
Exactly.
Tony Cruz, Same as Keane. I mean, again, I have 94% pass accuracy on average. 1.7 key passes per game. So he was helping out going forward, but also tied second highest for tackles won in the tournament in the group stages. So just such a solid defensive midfielder who also just is fantastic at setting up Germany going forward. So he's such an all-round player. I have Locatelli in. Only played 2 games. Scored twice in that game against Switzerland, but he had the most tackles won in the Italy squad at 4. So again, another player who contributed both defensively and offensively, and just played a huge role in Italy progressing from the group stages. Wijnaldum is the only player to make it into all 3 of our squads.
You couldn't put him in. Like, if you didn't have him in, we'd be asking and questioning your credibility as a football fan.
Yeah,
have Wijnaldum in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I knew he was going to be included in your teams as 2 diehard Liverpool fans, and that was, I'm not going to lie, the main reason I wanted to cut him is just for something a bit different. But
I mean,
he was too good. He was too good.
If you had Pandev in your team and no Gini Wijnaldum, I would kick you off this show immediately.
That's fair.
Even removing the Liverpool bias, he played absolutely incredibly.
Yeah.
Watching the Netherlands, he was such a huge role, creating chances, scoring 3 times throughout the groups. He's just such a major part of their offense. Yeah. And as a captain, he's such a leader in that side. I thought he had to be.
So you're putting him down as your captain? Just need to ask.
No, wait.
I think he'll probably.
Wait, I have a question here. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this Netherlands Gigi Wijnaldum or Liverpool Gigi Wijnaldum you want in your team here?
It's Netherlands Gini Wijnaldum because I'm playing him as a more attacking role.
Right.
If I wanted him as a more defensive role, he'd be the Liverpool one because they're 2 very different roles.
Yeah. And I see you put Fjordbjerg in the right in the midfield, not up front.
Yeah, kept him in midfield where he plays. I believe he's a midfielder.
I mean,
to him.
in today's football, there really is a bit of a positionless football. There is such a thin line between defenders to midfield to the attack.
He's taking a keen approach to sports. Fuck it, I'm going rogue.
Rogue.
Stop me.
I do what I want.
And he does it well. He does what he wants, and he does it well.
He gets away with it because he scores.
Yeah.
My last
he also might be the most Swedish-looking person I've ever seen in my life.
That's very fair.
He looks like the guy that stopped me from entering Sweden.
Oh my god.
Maybe he was.
Could have been.
My last midfielder then is Roland Salai, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's Hungarian. 2 assists, 1 in each of the games against France and Germany. 2 games that really, I think everyone wrote Hungary off as just 3 losses.
100%.
Yeah.
But they were actually, in the end, unlucky not to qualify. They very nearly did against Germany. Like 2 draws out of those 3 games is just absolutely incredible for a team like Hungary. And I think Salai, especially with those 2 assists, was just so crucial in Hungary exceeding any expectations that anyone had for them. And that reason is why he's in my team.
I'm surprised you didn't go with fan favorite 48% pick like Nego.
Just for the amount of people who picked him in fantasy, he should be considered. Now, Oshin, I'm a bit disappointed.
Go on.
At the fact that you did not describe him as a very hungry player. I feel like that should have gone on record.
Some sort of pun should have been appreciated here.
Yeah.
My apologies, and I will try and do better next time.
That's all we ask for. It's just
Please,
improvement,
On to my front 2. Cristiano Ronaldo, I think, has to be in it. He's the top goal scorer in the group stages. I think he's played really well from what I've seen of him. I mean, what else is there to say, really? I have 5 goals out of 6 shots on target and 1 assist. he scored every 54 minutes.
Jesus, that's when you put it like that, it is phenomenal.
I mean, I'll go on. I'll stop you here and say my Ronaldo because I know you're going to go on a 10-minute rant on your next person. So I'm going to stop it here going just to Ronaldo. As much as I wanted to put Ronaldo in, the reason I didn't put him in is it is 3 penalties. Is 3 of his goals was one of the reasons. I'm like, that's bit. And then the one against Hungary, it was in garbage time at 2-0 already, and it was a nice 1-2 and a good ball by Silva, and he did well to round the keeper. But I was saying, other than that, it hasn't really been an impressive. I wouldn't say there were games where I said Ronaldo has taken this game and he's made it his own. He was just like Portugal against Hungary. We were saying up until the 86th minute, this was a very poor Portugal result and a very good Hungary result. And then they got the 3 goals.
That's very fair.
But like,
but I do think he has played well.
No, I'd say he's played well. I'm not saying, I'm not saying Jesus very well, but I would say he's played the 11. Like, it's the same argument I had with many people with Harry Kane when he won the Golden Boot. It was so false that he got 3 penalties and scored 2 goals against Panama. Are we really counting that as, he did really well to be the top goal scorer at that tournament? That's my argument, kind of, is where I fall Ronaldo.
That's the same thing I had. Was obviously 5 goals. You can't knock that. In 3 games, 5 goals, an amazing record. And like 3 penalties, sure, you can kind of say that as a knock. Now, it honestly unbelievable that he scored all 3. I don't think he missed a single penalty.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting on the same fence as Mike, where he obviously has played well. He's obviously a phenomenal player. Even if you just want to include him for the fact that now he is, what records has he broken? The most goals in complete Euros and nearly now international football or something.
Is very almost. Is he tied with the Iranian?
I'm not 100%.
In and around there, anyway.
Yeah, he's close anyway.
He should break that record in this Euros, I think.
You expecting more penalties?
Yeah. But she knows his penalties, so yeah. All right.
And then my last choice.
Before we go, forewarning: this player will probably be mentioned every podcast if he has an opportunity to bring him up.
It's not going that far. But
I would.
He played 2 games. He only played 2 games for Italy because they completely changed their squad in the 3rd. He scored 2 goals and got 1 assist in those 2 games. He's been a vital part in Italy's first 2 games in getting them through the group stages. He had an average match rating of 9.3 from infogoal.net is where I got that. And 9.3 is just absolutely insane. I mean, he was just so vital to Italy's success that I think you kind of have to have him in there.
Yeah, I did consider it. The Ciro Immobile.
That's
quite the
for
player.
those that didn't hear who was that player was Ciro Immobile.
Thanks for ushering on the 10-minute intensive course on how to pronounce his first game.
Yes.
His first name.
You're welcome.
Just before this. But Oshin, solid team here, right?
Yeah.
Now, 3 at the back. Now I know you've got a few decently defensive midfielders here,
it's a very attacking team.
It is very attacking team. I feel like even though Danny Ward 14 of 17 shots or 14 of 16 shots on target saved, he's going to be put under a lot of pressure here to come up with the goods.
In hindsight, when we take today's results in and already Wales lose 4-0, Danny Ward's not looking too great with hindsight.
Hey, I have team of the groups.
That wasn't in the group, so it's fine.
I have the added benefit of Sweden not playing for a while till after this recording. Oh, don't let me down, Olsen.
It's only the team of the groups. Can't take today's games into account, so we just don't even talk
about
them.
That's true. Anyone have any honorable mentions? Because when I originally just had like 25 players, I was struggling to cut off. Does anyone else want to go? And Keane, I swear, if you said the other North Macedonian player to score, you can go home.
I don't think I could name another North Macedonian player. That's why I picked Pandev.
I had one
Go on.
that I was going to put in, but I just didn't in the end, and that's Patrick Schick. For
Yes.
Oh,
the Czech
yes.
Republic.
Yes,
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
3 goals.
What a-
Their only goal scorer.
What a
Pretty-
goal that second one was
Yeah,
against Scotland.
that was
They have the
absolutely
confidence.
incredible.
To have the confidence to do that. Now, I'd never have the confidence to do that. Not because I get on target. I'd be so afraid I wouldn't even get it to the box. It will just trickle on the ground if I ever took that on.
That's very fair.
I had Schick as well. I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
did have in my honorable mentions. I did have Lukaku, who Keane had. Ronaldo, who you had, I did have as honorable. As I mentioned, I had Isaac for Sweden. I really had him in the team and all. And then when I couldn't ignore Forsberg's contributions,
That's
Kevin
very
De Bruyne, I had down.
Kevin De Bruyne's not a
I
bad
thought
one.
he was very good against Denmark. He turned that game around. Perisic, at his age for Croatia, has been impressive. Just not enough to make the team. I'd put down Hungary as a whole.
The nation of Hungary.
The nation of Hungary. If I put down the entire Hungary 11, I don't think we could have any complaints.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
As a team of the
especially if
group.
they got through, that would just be team of the group would be the entire Hungary 11.
Now this was kind of a the betting with your heart. I put N'Golo Kante. I really wanted to put him in.
Yeah, that's
Been
very
good,
fair.
but the game against Hungary and the 2-2 against France. France haven't got going really, so I couldn't feel like I could put any French players in.
Fair. They're actually combined 0 French players in all 3 teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just.
So,
current world champion.
It's not they haven't been. They have been bad. They just haven't got going. Is the best way
Yeah,
to
like-
describe it.
yeah, no, that's fair. There's so much
Um,
talent.
Havertz was one I also thought deserved a shout.
Yes, I did notice Kai Havertz was playing well, particularly because I kept thinking he was on my fantasy team and then he wasn't. So I kept
No,
noticing him, and yeah,
Like
it's not good.
He popped up with some important goals for Germany. So I have him, and then another Liverpool player I put down was Shaqiri.
Oh
I
yes,
thought been impressive for Switzerland.
just that one goal that he scored from outside the box, absolute cracker. I think
It
it was
was a
the second one
cracker.
that he scored the last day. Can't turn it
Can't
down.
knock.
The one player now that I was looking at including here, just I didn't even see him play, didn't watch any of the games, just from what I've heard. Billy Gilmore, I believe that's the name, Scottish lad,
Yeah,
midfielder.
it was
Yeah.
fantastic
ruined
against
England apparently.
Yeah,
That's still that Billy Gilmore now. The incident with the COVID still gets me. How
Yes.
he has COVID and no other Scottish player has to self-isolate, yet 2 English players do because they shook hands at the end. What's gone on there?
Yeah, that's either next level management from the Scottish management, or
That's
just I don't know, terrible UEFA decisions.
That's it. Billy Gilmore is the first footballer to be used as a bioweapon. Ravage the English camp in order to get promotion to progress.
after they've already played them, so it affects
Yes.
their next game.
one player that I
Uh.
think should have been included, and actually I should have included him myself, was Robin Gosens for Germany.
Yes.
Scored
Mm.
once, but he's created so many chances. I think he's looked fantastic for Germany going forward. He's just
I
a
think-
fantastic.
I
player.
think the mark for
That's fair.
Gosens, I think a mark against him is that France game, Germany didn't look like they could score a goal or do anything. And that's
very
kind of my reason. I don't have any German players. My team was. I've kind of based this. I know I have players that I've stand out because of one performance, but as a whole, three games were pretty good. I think the only exception is Mobile, but he did his business in the first 2 and he decided since they did their job done, you have a
Mm.
rest.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Right. Well,
Does anyone else have
That's-
any other business before we wrap things up?
I think it's best to say, because I know there are certain individuals that will probably listen to this and give out, this is just our opinions. If you have any problems with
no, no. My one is scientific fact.
Right or wrong.
I will fight anyone on the Goran Pandev. He has been great.
If any of you feel free to let us know if these were chump moves.
I will die on that Danny Ward hill.
Yeah. I feel like that's honestly he is the one that I'm most confident. The rest of them, you can have them in or out, but yeah, Danny Ward. I don't think there is an argument in the group stages for a better keeper. Sorry, Mike.
That I think time will tell. Sweden
time has told. Group stages, Mike. We said.
I don't remember Danny Ward making anyone question Italy, Turkey, or Sweden. God, they can't score. But Rob Olsen has questioned Spain, going, Spain can't hit a barn door if they tried. Just saying.
Right. Well, we'll leave it there. So, have a good one.
Thanks for stopping by.
See you.